sitting there right in front of them. It's sitting, just waiting to be seized. The drama-free season. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots. Penguins and Pirates. Same spot where you found this. Can I make a confession? Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm going to do this. All right. So I'm in Philadelphia. I'm here to cover baseball for the weekend. And no, that's not the confession. But it does take upward of 5 hours to get here. You know, if you're safe and legal and all that stuff, which I, of course, am. But it's a long time. I ran out of music to listen to. I ran out of interest in the 2 Stanley Cup playoff games that were going on and listening to the audio of those. And I just started poking around a little bit. Big mistake. Because you know what happens when you poke around a little bit now? All the platforms have this algorithm seeking monster that finds out things that they think you're interested in. And they just magically show up. And God help me, I ran into some ESPN hit, a program called First Take. And I recognized the voices of Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Clark. There were a couple other people, no idea who they were, but I know these 2 individuals. So I started listening to this. I'm not even going to dignify the dialogue that came through the car speakers. But it was about the Steelers. And if you are among those who watch or listen to this crap, and that's what this was crap, wholly unsubstantiated, wholly without any logic, let alone reality to it. If this is the programming for you, then I can tell you that listening to this show will not be for you for very long, because it's just not how I roll. I'm actually covering the team. I'm actually there in the building talking to humans, and I get to know those humans as humans. I'm free and do criticize them, obviously, if you listen to this show. I'd like to think that it's done fairly and professionally. It's not weird, made-up nonsense about why they didn't draft a player they had no intention of drafting just because they decided that this player was going to get all the hype beforehand. And in turn, that their hype didn't result in any NFL teams not named the Browns falling for all their massive influence and the hype and taking this kid. But let me fill you in on a little bit of an industry secret. The Steelers get eyeballs. They get listens. Their brand is at a different level than most NFL franchises, and in fact, better than most professional sports franchises, regardless of the league. So there can't be a more eclectic mix than to take whatever fake hype thing you were trying to build up and then twin it with either, the Steelers or the Cowboys or one of the other bigger brands. That's a formulaic approach to tantalizing an audience that you assume is stupid, that you assume can't think for itself. It's as cynical as you can be when it comes to a media approach. And it's a stretch and a half to ever connect the Steelers to their object of hype. They were never interested. They were never going to take him. The draft could have gone 25 rounds and they weren't going to take him. Same with a bunch of other NFL teams. And guess what? I still don't care, like at all. Here's what I do care about. The 2025 Steelers can be drama-free to the disappointment of media approaches and programs like the one I'm describing. They can be drama-free to the extreme. Why? Well, for one, George Pickens isn't around. Been over that, not going to bludgeon it. Najee Harris isn't around. Najee made his own waves in there. Popular with a lot of teammates, very different dynamic than the George case, but capable and very much so of drama. And if the Steelers decide to go with a true professional, you knew was headed here, didn't you? Someone in whom they would have zero doubt as to how he would conduct himself, how he would carry himself, and the brand of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they go with Mason Rudolph as quarterback, they can focus entirely on football. Like all summer, all fall, all winter. Just football. No nonsense, no distractions, no strange questioning about strange situations. You still might have nonsense like this thing that I saw, but it won't be based in reality, and it'll be really obvious that it's not based in reality. Or you can go bring in Aaron Rodgers, and you can invite every circus into town. Real or imagined, fair or not. But that's what you'd be doing. And for as stubborn as Mike Tomlin can be, even he's got to see that. Even he's got to be weighing that. Clean slate, no drama, just football. Just a serious, all-inclusive, all-intensive, all-aboard run for the playoffs. Imagine that. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from Lou, who says, DK, I would think that Art Rooney would want to go over to Ireland a lot earlier since it's Ireland. Also, has Mike Tomlin ever admitted that he's wrong? You're going to put me on a spot with that second one there, Lou. Because if I answer that I can't recall any time that he's ever admitted that he's wrong, it can easily be interpreted that he's never admitted that he's wrong, and I can't know such a thing. But I honestly can't recall any such instance. I'm sorry. And other than saying, we own this, I own this, or whatever, he'll never give a specific. And that to me is always the biggest difference between real self-accountability and stuff like, just self-platitudes. As for Ireland, and I know you're referring to Ireland in both of these cases because for anybody who missed yesterday's show, it's looking like the Steelers have an intent of flying over to Dublin on Thursday and practicing on Friday and Saturday, and that's based on Rooney's remarks to the Steelers' official website after the NFL schedule release the other night, though it's noteworthy that he left open the possibility that the Steelers would talk to other teams, see how they've done it, and see how things have changed since they all completely blew it in 2013 in London. So kind of reiterating from yesterday, but maybe with a little more meat here today, there's still a call to be made. And I believe that call has to be made at the ownership level. And that means, first and foremost, that ownership has to commit whatever funding is required to help the Steelers win that game. That's not getting preemptively upset about something that has yet to happen, but let's just say that it was one of the things that had been bantered about in London, meaning that, of course, it would be cheaper for the Steelers to not be in London as long. They could go right at the last minute and leave instantly. That's exactly what Rooney laid out for this one in that interview with the Steelers website. Thus, even if it's not his idea or his push, if it's Tomlin, he still is the owner and he still can say, listen, we're going to do this and we're going to do it right. This isn't just our first game in Ireland. It's the NFL's first ever regular season game in Ireland. It's a point of pride for my family, for my ancestry, for my heritage. And oh, by the way, the Vikings are pretty good, and the Vikings are going to be there a little extra longer. We are going to do whatever it takes as an ownership, as an organization, to give our players and our coaches and our staff the best possible chance of beating a good Minnesota team while also being good citizens in Ireland. We can do that. We can do that. Why doesn't he say that? Why doesn't that come up? Or maybe the NFL steps in. Maybe the NFL says, hey, wait a second. Didn't you guys want this game? Didn't you guys want to go over there? What's up with this? You're going to show up on Friday and leave on Sunday night? What are you doing? I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We'll be back with another one of these on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend.